I'm Colt Stevens from C. Stevens Gunworks. The following video you're going to see is an archive of my earlier work. Some of these earlier videos of mine have some great information that I really wanted to repost and preserve. So I hope you enjoy the content and I hope you learn something from this video. On this video, I want to make a special note. This video, apart from all the others, I would have probably deleted this video or kept it from the archive that I'm trying to build on this channel. But this video showcases something that happened after the fact when I uploaded the video. Guns.com actually reached out to us upon them watching this video, and that's something that never really occurred with any of my other videos where the manufacturer, or in this case the platform host or the service provider, reached out to us directly as a result of one of the videos I created. So I want to showcase just how impactful some of these early videos of ours are, that they really did have a wide viewership, and even Guns.com reached out to us over this video. So that was really neat, and I wanted to share this with y'all.
Today we're going to be discussing Guns.com and our thoughts about Guns.com. We recently started using Guns.com as well as Gunbroker, which we've used in the past. We were pretty frequent users of Gunbroker. That's really where we got started online. And Guns.com is relatively new. We first heard about them at SHOT Show this year, and we had signed up online with them, and they're quite competitive with Gunbroker. Their main selling point was lowered fees, which we'll talk about here in a minute. And it's overall a more streamlined process, I'd say, than Gunbroker. They're really putting a lot of effort into the platform. And so far we've been very pleased, and we're going to talk about exactly what we like and don't like about the platform compared to Gunbroker, and just in general what we thought about the platform and how they're doing with things. Now keep in mind this is May 2020, so they may have improved on some things or changed some things around from if you're watching this later. This is our experience up until this point. So we'll get into what we have. I have this chart over here showcasing some of our thoughts on this. So like I started off with, the main attraction is lowered fees. So when we talk about Gunbroker, their scheme, keep in mind this is just your entry scheme. Gunbroker has 3 different tiers, and it's maybe 4 different tiers. But the base tier is 6% of the final value is charged when you sell the item. So it's 6% on $250 plus 3.5% on everything after $250. So it's a little bit less than 6% total. It depends on the item, of course, whether you're doing under 250 or over 250. So it works out to be on average like 5% as a general guideline for that, unless you're getting quite up there in what you have, which is not terrible. If you do a lot of low dollar amount items like under 250, the 6% kind of weighs out. Like if you do a lot of ammo sales, things like that, under $100, you're going to really feel that 6%. That's going to be $6 out of every $100 that you sell. So it adds up over time. And in comparison, Guns.com is a flat rate 4.9%, which I really like. That just keeps it simple. Which, if you're talking 2,000 or 3,000, yeah, Gunbroker may be cheaper, but that's going to be a rare occurrence. I mean, you're not going to be selling $3,000 or $4,000 items all the time unless you're quite up there, and then you'll have different marketing options like on your own website, things like that. But as a general guideline for like mid-level, Guns.com, pretty good, 4.9%. We're talking about maybe the $5,000 to $2,000 range. You do pretty well. So that's a good selling point for why you'd go on Guns.com versus Gunbroker. Other than that, we're going to continue. We'll go down the positives that we like first. Shipping is managed directly by Guns.com. And at first it takes a little bit to figure out what's actually going on. So our first sale on Guns.com, We didn't really know if they had insured it. We had a customer that came in um, that was he didn't buy from us, but he had bought a firearm from guns.com, had it transferred here, and he had to ship it back. It was a shotgun of some sort, a double barrel side by side, and the front handguard would actually not snap in, and he was a little bit concerned with that because in the pictures, of course, it had it on there, fully functional, all that, and we just couldn't get it on there for him. So he ended up shipping it back, but we could not determine whether they had insured it or not. We had contacted them. They said it was, but the label they sent was not, and we had checked with the shipping company next door, and they had said that it was not. So there was some confusion there. But all in all, it got to where it was fine. There was no problems. But of course, there was just a miscommunication that could have been resolved a lot easier, especially if it was as advertised. But of course, I'm sure that's not up to guns.com because there are individuals that sell on guns.com, individual dealers, not individuals, private parties. We'll talk about that later. But it's down to the individual representation of who's selling the item, what they're saying about it. Is it really as advertised? And in that case, it was not. But of course, they made it right for him. They gave him his full credit back. They took the item back, no questions asked, because it was not as advertised. So other than the mix-up, I think it was a good experience. It was just a communication error on their part. But that didn't really detract from it because they made it right. So that really shows you where they're at with that. So the next one on our list is they give you a view counter for free, and that's very nice. Gunbroker.com, you're talking about they give you a watch, so it's how many watchers do you have per item. It's kind of like eBay. With this one, they actually show you how many people have viewed your listing, and that's a lot more helpful, in my opinion, than watchers. Watchers, you may get a sense of how many people are really interested and close to buying, but viewers tell you how many people are searching for that specific combination, like your title, your description, things like that. So viewers give you a lot better sense of how it's doing on the site. And the next one is you are occasionally featured in their email newsletter. This has actually happened to us twice, and I was surprised when I saw this because I looked in our email and we had gotten a newsletter. I usually don't check them. I'm not sure what drove me to check at that time. But I saw a listing that looked familiar. I looked at it and I clicked on it, and it actually took us to our listing. And that was really cool because we had not paid them to do anything like that. They just took our listing, threw it in the newsletter, and for free. And we got quite a lot of views on our listing for that. So I was surprised at that. And I really like that feature that sometimes they'll just pick up your listing because they liked it, they thought it was interesting, and share it with everybody across the platform. So I really like that. So next we'll move into things that are kind of neutral. They're subjective. They're FFL only. Now, if you're us, you like that. It's not like Gunbroker where anybody can post. You have to be an FFL brick and mortar store. And I like that. You don't have a lot of people undercutting you. Like if you're a home-based FFL, you have no overhead. I mean, we have a storefront and all that. It takes money to keep the lights on, of course. So they make it kind of exclusive for you. They make it dealer-friendly, not just anybody can list. And that also keeps the experience kind of good for people that are buying. You know that they're going to be held to a standard because they are a business. It's not like if it's just anybody, they can rip you off and just run off into the sunset with your money. They have a reputation to uphold. So the next one that's subjective is you're anonymous. So they don't like for you to put a lot of things that identify your brand. They like to keep it kind of anonymous. You can kind of tell, I think they mark the post outlet so that you know there's certified, used, and then there's outlet, and outlet is the actual retailers that they list. And certified as stuff that they buy and they've listed on there personally. Their company lists it. Being anonymous, you can kind of tell who lists it. Like if you look at ours, you'll probably see our picture taking setup, and you can recognize it if you search for different things. But it's not like you can go to the Horseshoe Firearms LLC guns.com page. It's not like Gunbroker where you can just search in Horseshoe Firearms and everything comes down. So that's subjective. So to summarize anonymous, some good, some bad. You don't get a lot of brand recognition and they like to keep it that way. So that's kind of subjective to whether you like that or not. The next one is you automatically receive offers on your items. Sometimes on Gunbroker, we'll list it if it's not getting a lot of traction with people. We'll list it for take an offer. This one, even if you have a dead set number, you're always going to get 70 to 99% offers. And the biggest thing that I see a lot on guns.com is people will send in the offer at rock bottom minimum because they just calculate out 70% and they send it in. I don't really like that. Some people might, but I wish you could set it to automatically just discard it and not send it to your inbox if it's like below a certain threshold. Some things I'll take that. Like if it's 85% or better, you probably have a good chance with us. But if it's like, if I can tell you've automatically calculated it down to the cent, what is 70%? I'm not gonna take your offer. Some people just like to get rock bottom price. And sometimes I imagine they get that depending on how desperate people are to sell some things. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're not trying to just liquidate. I mean, that is the business. Okay, so now we'll move on to the negatives that we found on guns.com. We've found a couple. We've got 3 in total on our list here. So we'll go through the number 1 that we found. So in comparison to Gunbroker, whenever they make an offer on your item, it is required for them to follow through with it. On guns.com, that's not the case. And in fact, we've had 3 items now that people have made offers on and not followed up on it, and they've just expired. On Gunbroker, whenever you submit an offer, it says you're committing to it. You have to go through with it, or you're gonna have a violation on their account. Guns.com, that's not the case. You have the option to just let it go. If the dealer accepts your price, you're good to go on that for 5 days. If you just wait 5 days and don't go through with it, that just expires. Now, the problem with that for us is if I accept an offer on guns.com, I then take it down off of Gunbroker immediately in case Gunbroker sells, and then we're committed to sell it on Gunbroker, and then we have 2 that are sold on the same listing, which would be bad. So in summary, the first point, we're talking about when they send an offer in on guns.com, they have no obligation to follow through with it. And if they just let it expire, it expires. My problem was if I have an offer and I accept it, I have to pull it off of Gunbroker. And if I pull it off of Gunbroker, I have to relist it if they don't go through it after 5 days. And that's my obligation to figure out, is it going here? Is it going to guns.com or Gunbroker? And I have to be ready to go at either time. In comparison, Gunbroker, when they make the offer, it is permanent and they have to follow through with it if I accept it. If I don't accept it, they're not obligated to do anything. The next one is the payment is sent after the shipment. So the first time we ever used guns.com, and it's not really a negative once you figure out how it works, but it was a little weird when we were first getting started. So you have to ship out the item before you get the payment. In comparison to Gunbroker, you have to have FFL and payment before you send it out. So we were kind of not used to that when we first ran across that. Which protects the buyer. I can see why they would do that. In Gunbroker, it almost feels more adversarial. You kind of have to be cutthroat in that regard, but Guns.com, it feels a little more friendly when you do that. They're more acting as the middleman. Gunbroker is more automated. They're really hands off. But Guns.com, they're present where they need to be, and that's a real benefit to using them as a platform. The last one, and this is probably going to be fixed anytime now because we had sent an email off to them with a suggestion on what they should do to fix this. And he said that is something that they're aware and they were going to fix that, is the listing tools. In comparison to Gunbroker, you have more options. The biggest one we looked at is if you compare just everybody else's listing to their listings at certified used, they add a weight on there. And if you're just a regular outlet dealer on Guns.com, you don't have the option for weight. And we called them and we talked to them, and they said they are planning to add that at some point. So if you're watching this a month from now, they may have that on there, and that may just be gone. The other one is the description. After you post something on there, you have the option to go back in and say what is customized. To me, when I've looked at listings, I don't see listings that they're utilizing that feature. I have not utilized that feature. I would just put it straight in the description. So it's kind of redundant that you have customization and description where you could just have everything in description. And the other part of that is there are some parts of the listing you can't edit after you list it. You have to take it down and relist the whole thing. Caliber, title, the model, I think those are things you can't change once you've listed it, and you're kind of stuck with that. But other than that, those three are really the only thing I've found that are negatives, and of course they might watch this video and they might improve upon that, and I know we've talked to them and made them aware of our feedback on there. But overall, I'd say I like Guns.com. In comparison to Gunbroker, it's a little more friendly to the dealers. Of course, we are a licensed FFL. We've noticed that there's a lot less people on there, it's interesting because it creates a different market where the prices for some things are different from Gunbroker to Guns.com. Not that you'll like go on Gunbroker and buy things and relist on Guns.com for more money, but it's like the collectible stuff, it's not as saturated. Like if you have an Arasaka, you may have the only Arasaka on there. Where Gunbroker, you'll have 10 other listings as competition to your listing. It's also bad because there's not as much variety. If you're looking for a specific, we'll keep going with the Arasaka. If you're looking for a specific arsenal, you may only have one choice. You may have a Nagoya, where you might want a Mukden arsenal, the Korean arsenal. If you're a serious collector and you want one exact item, it may not be on Guns.com. It might be a better price because there's less competition, or it may be a higher price. It's just there's less people on there. But of course, you have a different clientele on Guns.com. Both ways. There's different dealers that may not be on Gunbroker. Like we're on both. We list everything 2 times on Gunbroker and Guns.com. But some people may only be on Guns.com to sell, and some may be only on there to buy. So the market is different. Gunbroker to me feels like there's a lot more people on there. Guns.com less people, but they're really trying to draw people, and they have a lot more reaction to people's expectations. They really accommodate the community, and I really like that from Guns.com. They're smaller, more experience oriented than I would say Gunbroker is, and I really appreciate that. So all in all, I would recommend Guns.com. We've had a very pleasant experience, and they continue to improve the platform every day, and I'm a big fan of it. So with that, check the link in the description and like and subscribe.